Noreen Reiner, a humble woman working part-time as a psychic in the 1980s, was cautious to accept the job presented to her by a woman named Jessica Herbert. Jessica explained to Reiner that her brother had been lost in an airplane that crashed in New Hampshire in the winter of 1984, and despite an extensive search by the police and the Civil Air Patrol, was never found. Reiner was wary, unaware if her psychic powers were strong enough to find the crash site and find out what happened to Arthur Herbert, but she committed to the job nonetheless. After extensive conversations with Jessica, Reiner claimed the ability to see the crash site, but reported that her brother Arthur and the other passengers had not survived. She then gave the exact longitude and latitude positions of the site, and when sought out by the authorities, she was proven correct. The scene was exactly as Reiner had described it from her visions, and Reiner became a local celebrity for her part in the discovery. Etta Smith, a woman who did not advertise herself as a psychic, found herself caught up in a dangerous game when she took interest in the missing persons report of Melanie Uribe, a local nurse who never returned home after work one evening. Etta Smith claimed to be plagued with a specific vision, a white cloak trapped under a bush, and despite not believing herself to have psychic powers, decided to investigate on her own without the help of police. Smith traveled to where the vision seemingly led her, a remote spot in the Lopez Valley. There she found the body of Melanie Uribe under a bush. She called the authorities, but upon their arrival could not give an explanation as to how she knew the body would be there. She was subsequently arrested and put into jail for 4 days, until police captured the real killer. Smith was released, and still doubts her powers to this day. Rosemary Kerr, a psychic who was called in by the family of Andre Deigel to investigate his disappearance, showcased incredible talent and skill upon taking the job. After Andre Deigel had been approached by a woman in a bar asking for a ride home, he did not return to his family for 4 days. Thinking this was uncharacteristic of him, Rosemary Kerr was called to investigate a photo of his vehicle in an effort to get a psychic lead. She claimed she experienced head trauma after seeing the vehicle, said it was 2 men responsible for Deigel's death and gave their description, and then gave them the location of Deigel's body by an interstate. Deigel's brother investigated, but before he found his body, he noticed 2 men driving by in his brother's truck. The 2 men were exactly as Kerr had described, and Deigel gave chase to them. He eventually called the police, and the men were caught. They confessed to the murder of Deigel, having beat him to death in the head with hammers after they sent a woman into a bar to lure out an unsuspecting victim. Deigel's body was recovered from the same spot Rosemary Kerr had claimed. To make the whole case that much more impressive, Kerr did all of her work from home, over 2,000 miles across the country. In 1961, a 4-year-old girl named Edith Kikorius fell victim to a kidnapping in New York City. With leads running low and time running out, the police asked for the help of one of the most famous psychics in the world, Gerard Croiset, a man who resided across the world in the Netherlands. When approached, Croiset was eager to work from home, as he had a fear his psychic sensibilities would be overwhelmed by the immensity of New York City, and the police reluctantly agreed to his request. He asked for Edith's photo, as well as a map of the New York borough she had previously lived in. Croiset was suddenly struck with a vision, seeing flashes of what he described as a dark woman sitting in front of a window. He then went on to describe the surroundings: a laundromat, a dry cleaners, and a gray building with 5 floors. He also told the investigators it was too late to save Edith, as she had been killed by her kidnapper. The police investigated, and within hours located the buildings Croiset spoke of. There they found Edith's body, but noticed the murderer had escaped. The killer was brought to justice a week later. In 1976, a desperate family contacted psychic Dorothy Allison in the hope she could find their missing daughter. Allison was struck with a vision involving the numbers 2562, which the family would later translate as February 5, 1962, the birthday of their daughter. Impressed by her skills, they continually pressed Allison for more details. The psychic described a marsh swamp area and claimed that their missing daughter was dead and that she was in water, but she had not drowned. The girl's father went to the nearby marshlands to investigate, but was unable to find his daughter. A few weeks later, however, a group of teenagers discovered the body in an oil drum that had been cast into the river. Now knowing her visions were accurate, Allison informed the family that the girl had been killed by her ex-boyfriend. The police, now satisfied that they had a body, examined the girl and agreed she had been strangled. The ex-boyfriend was promptly arrested, and he confessed to killing the girl after he learned of her plans to break up with him.